Welcome to the Liberated Investor Advantage podcast with your host, Doug Alden. In this podcast, we help you deal with and understand the uncertainties of investing and financial planning. Join us for this journey as your host, Doug Alden, teaches you how to move forward, no matter what life or the markets throw your way.
Hello and welcome to the Liberated Investor Advantage with Doug Alden. Today, I'm so excited because Doug has a special guest, and that is Fred Chalker from Living Water, Haiti, and he is joining us by phone from very, very far away. Doug, thank you so much for bringing Fred on. I'm just going to ask a real easy question. How did you guys meet?
We met in church down in South Florida several years ago, more years than either one of us cares to admit. And we kept getting tossed out of churches. And so we would find another church, and then we'd start asking questions about the pastors and what they're preaching. And Fred and I were pretty a stickler for if it lines up with Scripture, that's good. If it doesn't line up with Scripture, then we need to talk about it. So, but anyway, his family is pretty much closely mirrors mine. Fred has married a long time. His wife Mary is just a lovely lady. She had two boys. Her first husband died, and when she met Fred, she says, I won't marry you until you're at least 21. So she finally turned 21, and they got married, and then they have two girls. And that was pretty much like Jean and me. I have two boys, and she had two girls. And so we used to meet at Denny's. You remember that, Fred?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, we met at Denny's every Friday morning, and we had pretty much the same thing. He was running a business, and I was running a business. So we had the same issues, same problems, similar, trying to take care of children and get them through, puberty and teenage years and all that. And we just hang out. I mean, we just enjoy being with each other. We can go a couple of years without seeing each other, and it's like we never missed a beat. So I wanted to have Fred on because he's been working in a ministry named Living Water Haiti, as he described it. And I wanted him to tell his story a little bit, because what they've been able to accomplish by God's will and through the power of faith is so amazing that I just wanted him to talk about it. So, Fred, let me ask you a couple questions. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. Why do you do what you do?
Well, it's a pretty easy answer to that. It's because God has burdened my soul for the work that He called me to do, and I feel that call, and I can't do anything but step into it. But there's another part that's when I step into it, I feel I'm pleasing God. And that causes me to be fulfilled. It gives me purpose in life. It gives me a reason for living. And therefore, my life is full of joy. It's full of peace. It's full of contentment. Yet there are troubles around about all the time as I work in the mission field. So it's a wonderful thing that God has done for me, and I praise Him for taking my life and bringing it that direction.
That's great. I knew the answer to that story, but I just wanted our listeners to hear it. So tell me how you go about functioning on your ministry. Tell me what you're doing.
My call is to the northwest of Haiti. It's the countryside of Haiti. At one time, it used to take us 15 to 25 hours to get there from Port-au-Prince, the main city in Haiti. But now we can do it in about 7 hours. And so we're not anywhere near the populated areas. We're in the country area that is fully covered with people, but they're all in a very poverty-stricken area. They're all third world people living mostly in thatch huts on dirt. There's no water. They have to search for it. There's no sewers. There's no electricity. There's no advantages. There's no towns with all kinds of industry. There's no jobs. I think it's the last I heard, it was 84% unemployment in the countryside. And you used to be able to live off the land, but now the land has been decimated because there's no fuel, no electricity, no natural gas. So they have to cut down the trees. You cut down the trees, the rain comes, washes off the topsoil, washes into the ocean, kills the ocean. So you're living in a beautiful supposed rainforest, which it was at one time, but you're living now in a desert with cactus growing all along the ocean and no way to eke out a living. So I see that, and it broke my heart. God called me to try and help in any way that He allowed me to do it, and He has provided for me in all kinds of ways and resources to bring some hope to people in the Northwest that are hopeless.
Well, that's phenomenal. I have to get personal here. Do you remember one of your first trips to Haiti? You had a young lady with you that was a nurse. Do you remember that?
I do. I remember that very well. That was a very life-changing experience for me. Your wife was the nurse, and she came along, Jean, along with a few other people, and we went to a little village in the middle of nowhere called Café Paul. Interestingly enough, that at that time in that area, there was a group of people that were trying to take hold of a grassroots organization to take over Haiti and kind of control it. They were Cuban. They were coming from Cuba, communist type of influence. And when they were there, they basically were telling everybody that that the Americans were, in a sense, evil, and that Christianity was foolish. And so we come rolling in blindly, totally blind, with the love of God, a bunch of Americans with the love of God, to preach the gospel and to bring gifts and medical attention, and got there and found out that there was a large group of people in the area that had grown that were against everything we were doing. So that didn't work out as well as we thought, but it worked out extremely well in the end. I can tell you the rest if you wish.
I just want to think, I think my wife Jean was the nurse, obviously, and she was one of the first medical personnel ever to that area of the country, if I'm not mistaken.
That's pretty true. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So now, as you move forward, tell me some of the things that you guys have been able to accomplish there and where you are pretty much right now.
Sure. The first thing that we did for a number of years was take groups over to Haiti. I would bring groups of 5 to 15 different people, and we'd bring them over, and whatever talents or gifts they had, but they were always Christians preaching the gospel, because the hope of Christ is the answer to those who are devastated by voodoo, which was the main culture in the northwest of Haiti. And so we started planting churches along with some other organizations that God threw in there, a number of great organizations. Churches got planted throughout the Northwest. And when we went there, you would have a hard time finding Christianity and finding churches. But if you go there today, 37, 38 years later, there are churches everywhere you go. We have planted churches, raised up pastors, opened Christian schools so that the children are receiving the gospel even in the schools. That was the start, and that was the first 15 or so years. And then, because of the burden on my soul for the poor conditions of the country and the people, children, we would go over and find malnutrition children everywhere we went. By malnutrition, I mean the red-rooted hair, the big extended bellies, the worms that they were full of, and you could put my fingers around their thigh because it was just bone and skin. That type of a malnutrition, really disastrous. And that was because they were only eating maybe 1 cup of rice a day, and that was their full diet. So we begged God to help us to do some more social work to try and come through and take care of some of these people. Many of them were churched and were Christian brothers and sisters now. So, and God came through. It was a miracle. We had no way to figure this out, no way to solve the problem. But what he did is, one of the little private schools, Christian schools that we had, needed food. So we prayed, and out of the blue, I get a phone call from an organization that has some free food, and that's what they do. It's called Feed My Starving Children out of Minneapolis. And they said, we've heard about you. Can we give you some food? And they did. And we started feeding every day. We cooked a meal, nice big meal with fully nutritious, all the vitamins and enrichment and all that we had for those 40 or 50 kids. The school immediately grew to 100 to 120 kids, because once you put a meal in there, everybody wants to go to that school.
That's right. So especially if you're not eating,
That's correct. And so that just grew like crazy. And Feed My Starving Children stayed behind us. Food for the Poor out of Fort Lauderdale came and heard about us, and they started shipping the product over to Haiti. And the next thing I know, as time goes on over the last 12 years, we went from the 40 children in that first school to 50 schools now with 6,400 children, and we're feeding them a meal every day, and I have no clue how we ever gained all that money and all those resources and all those people that we need. We have 40 or 50 employees over there. We have trucks. We didn't do major fundraisers. It just, God seemed to open doors everywhere we turned to provide for us to do this work. So I know that this is not my work. This is God's work. He's doing this. I happen to be blessed enough to be used by Him to do the work, and it brings me great joy. And that's just one of the things we do. There are many, many other things that God has opened the doors for us to do.
Yeah, I have a personal question about that. How's the goat farm coming along?
Goat farm. I know you like that. I know, and you know, because we're businessmen and we think ahead and we think about what's going to happen in the future, that you can't keep feeding kids forever and ever and ever, and it keeps growing. So we need to figure out a way to provide jobs in an area where there is no economy. So there's, for instance, if you grow goats can be raised in that area. But if you raise them, where do you sell them? There's no money. Nobody has any money to buy them. So, you can eat them, but that's not a very wise thing financially to do. Now you still have no money for your kids to go to school and buy clothes or whatever. So we started a goat farm. We're starting a goat farm. We're starting a chicken farm. We're starting a fishing industry. We found and developed sea salt mines along the ocean. You take the ocean water and you take the water away from it, you get sea salt, and that's a good market. And that area is the best in Haiti for that type of industry. So we've added that in there. So we're adding industry in every year now. This is our major function, to try and get the poor family fathers to be able to earn enough money to feed the children, put them in school, buy them clothes. That's the story of where we're headed over the next 10 years, and God seems to be opening doors for that.
Yeah, you had a need for a boat to ship these goats down to Port-au-Prince, right?
Correct, because you're driving on dirt, actually what used to be donkey paths, and that's what you're basically driving on for a good portion of the way when you get into the Northwest. So it destroys trucks. So we decided to design a basic barge that could drive up to, there's no ports, there's no docks, so you have to drive right up to the beach. And this, we thought of the landing craft that they used in the war, and so we took a pontoon boat and made it strong and big, 45 feet, and put a landing ramp on the front that comes down and lands on the beach, so it doesn't draw much water. We can drive close, drop it on the beach, so we can move and put a vehicle on it, or lots of people, or lots of goods, and we can move the product via the ocean, which is we're surrounded by in Haiti, by the ocean, to the market. And so we can take the product to the market and take any goods we need to develop them, the goats or the chickens or the chicken feed or all that kind of stuff, to the Northwest much easier. And that's in process. The boat is ready to sail.
That's great. So what's next on your prayer list? Well,
the next thing to happen is there's two things that are hot on the list. One is the economic situation, to solve this economic situation over there, to get them jobs. The other is their housing is pathetic. Many are still living in thatch on dirt. Just put some sticks together, weave some sticks between them, and put a thatch palm frond roof over top of it. And we're trying to build small cement floors, two small rooms, maybe 300 square feet of house for them to live with their, husband, wife, and 6 or 8 kids, and give them some, and find them some water and put in outhouses and septic systems and those kind of things. And the other is there's no medical care, and that's always been a burden on us. We have tried 3 or 4 times to provide some kind of medical care. For instance, if in the area that we are in, if somebody does get sick and they need to go to the hospital is a 3-hour truck ride away, an hour and a half on the back of a motorcycle. and that's the closest hospital to our area. Other than that, there are some tiny clinics that are very insufficient. There's 250,000 people there that don't have any medical care. So that is matter of fact, it's hot on our list to try and open up a medical facility. We have the land. We have the infrastructure on the land. All we need now is for someone to come alongside us and provide. So we've asked God to provide a way for us to build a small little clinic that will build into a hospital and have medical care for that area.
That is absolutely incredible. Fred, thank you so much for everything you've said so far. What are some of the positive things that you've seen over there? How has that changed lives? How has it affected the Haitians in that poverty-stricken area that I've been to too, by the way? And it ain't pretty. But tell us any kind of a growth pattern that you see.
There's a number of things that God has done. One of the things that they did not have over there, if you think about this, if you have your father and you got three or four kids and a wife and you have no job and your average income for that area is about $40 per month. That's $480 per year. So that's all you got as a resource. And you're working hard all day, every day to do that. Okay, so what you end up with, and then everything goes bad. Your kids get sick. You can't put them in school because you can't pay. You can't buy them the books they need. You can't buy them uniforms for school. You can't do anything. So you completely lose hope. And many lose hope to the point where they just sort of sit under a tree and play dominoes. It's a loss of hope. And what God has done is He has brought hope into the area through Living Water and many other ministries, not just Living Water. He's bringing other ministries in there also. But He brings hope to these people by providing somebody that loves them unconditionally, provides food for their children. Gives them. We provide clothes galore. We can get clothes so reasonable, and so everybody that we're involved with in our 30 or 40 schools that we work with, all the children are fed. There is no malnutrition, none. We do great surveys on this. We have a man that goes around to every school once or twice a month and checks all the schools out, checks the kids out, make sure we're not losing any food, and he's just amazed at the health of the children now compared to years ago. So that brings hope to them. And then you give them clothes, that brings hope to them. And then you plant a church and you give them a place where they can worship God and find that there's someone like God that takes care of them and cares for them. And so therefore they put their hope in God, which gives them more hope in life. And then you find little jobs for them to do. You find places like salt mines. We put in the very, very first salt mine into the area called Tea Paradis. And to do the salt mine is about the size of 10 swimming pools, and it's about the same depth, about 6 feet deep, and it's dug by hand. Takes about 10 or 15 guys about 3 to 6 months to dig it all out. They do it all by hand and dig it all out, and then what they do is they let the salt water come in. The environment holds that water because it's all this thick mud that just holds water and doesn't leak. The water evaporates and you got tons and tons and tons of salt left that they can sell. So we put one in, showed them how to do it because they didn't believe it would work. And it worked so well, we had so much salt that now there are like 30 salt mines in that same area that individuals that were broke before, had no hope, now have a little salt mine. They can sell a bag of salt for $8. They get 200 bags, 300 bags of salt on every harvest. So there's another thing we do. And if somebody's sick, they died before. Well, now we're there. They come to us, and somehow we always find the resources to put them on the back of a motorcycle, put them in the back of the truck, send them to the doctor. We send a person along with them because when you go to the hospital in Haiti, you don't get free food and free care. You have to have a person there to feed you, but you do get medical attention, and we pay for some of that. So they have hope there from the medical side. So they're getting spiritual hope, they're getting medical hope, they're getting food hope, they're getting clothing hope, and their lives have been brought to a place. The education of the kids. Look at all the kids we have in school. We have 6,400 kids just in our set of schools that we work with, and they're all getting an education. And the new thing we're doing that we just brought in is we brought in high-speed internet, very first high-speed internet. We're going to use that as an instrument to teach those kids more about the life in the world, so that they can expand their their horizon and find some jobs with some education. It won't be all, but it'll be those who are motivated will find a way to get educated over the internet and to find jobs. So that's the kind of thing that we're really just giving people that were hopeless. We're giving them hope, and God has opened those doors and provided for them in ways that are miraculous.
That's incredible, Fred. I know I get to the business point of it probably too quickly, but I know that I've known you for, it's been a long time, 35 years or so, maybe a little less than that. And I know you're not a real avid fundraiser. You would never make a good politician. So what I want to do, and as far as helping you, is first of all, we're going to get this podcast out to my listeners and my clients, and they'll be able to hear the work that you're doing. You told me that some of your best campaigns for fundraising, you do it on Facebook. Is that right?
We do it. We reach a lot of people on Facebook, and that because people will connect and read, and we will occasionally get someone hooked up where they say, "How can I help?" and they'll send us some money. The money seems to come through connections that God sets up for us. A lot of it comes also from businessmen who see that they can use their money in a way that some of the money they've made, it's of course tax deductible, and they can use it to greater benefit.
Well, what I think, Eric, you want to jump in here and tell Fred what Top Advisor Marketing and I do with guests like Fred and the package that he's going to receive?
Yes, absolutely. So, Fred, thank you so much for your story. I would like to actually ask one other question before we get too far. I know that the world is going through, the globe is going through a situation right now with COVID-19. I wanted to ask you specifically, how are the people feeling down there? I mean, we know that spirituality is such an essential core part of obviously what you do, and also now that all those churches have been planted, obviously it seems to be a very large part of the community as well. What is the feeling down there when it comes to COVID-19? Is there fear? Are they turning more toward Christ, and are they seeking out wisdom and counsel? Is there panic? What's the feeling down there?
It's interesting. We have a group. We probably have one of the only American groups that are in Haiti right now, because Haiti is at a level 4 threat, and 5 is the highest you can get. But we had a group of people that insisted on going. They said that God had called them and they wanted to go, and they just finished up today in the Northwest of Haiti. And in talking to them, basically, because I asked them about that, and basically they said nobody even cares or much about it, and there's no conversation about it, and they're not even thinking about it. So okay. I'm sorry that there is no story there, because the people in the Northwest are eking out a living, and they don't have TV. That's probably another reason. Yeah. So there is no issue. And as far as we know, there is no coronavirus in Haiti at this point. There's enough other problems that are probably just as disastrous or much more disastrous than that. It's not an issue in Haiti right at the moment.
Well, that's exactly what I was asking for, because I think that more of us could learn that lesson. We need to keep our head down and do the work that we're supposed to be doing, and take care of our families the way we're supposed to be taking care of our families, and stop listening to so much of the news, because the media is there. And Doug and I have talked about this before. The media is there to sell commercial time, and they want people to watch. So they're going to put some of the most outrageous things on to get people's attention. So they'll watch so that their sponsors can, get their money's worth. So that, I think it's a good thing that they're shielded a bit, even though life for them isn't easy and it's difficult, and they're just working to survive at this point. I think that's more of a peaceful existence than most people right now in the United States. So I'm so happy to hear that. And yes, as Doug alluded to, what we do is we're going to have a 4-page document basically for you that will help you to use this podcast as an opportunity to send your voice out to all of the people that you connect with on Facebook. If you're on LinkedIn or any other social platform, your email database, we'd love for you to be able to send this out to get your voice out there. I will be talking to Doug after the show. I hope every listener actually, I'm just going to say it. I want every listener to prayerfully consider helping to support your ministry because of the things that you do. I'm excited. I love the fact that you're doing this. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I do want to support you, and I'm hoping that every listener out there will prayerfully consider supporting your ministry as well. How do I make a donation today to your organization?
We have a website, and on that website it's livingwaterhaiti.org, livingwaterhaiti.org. And from there, the website will direct you to, there's donate buttons for PayPal and other ways, checks. So that would be the best way.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Fred, for your time. Doug, thank you so much for bringing Fred on. I love this podcast. What an amazing story, and what a great, what I would call it is a reset button for me personally. When I think about all the things that I'm dealing with right now, it's not nearly what these people have been dealing with for their entire lifetime. And so my pity party is over. This is a good slap in the face to say, you know what, you've got it pretty good. So thank you so much for this opportunity to hear Fred and his story.
Well, Fred, our time's up. Unfortunately, it goes really fast, but I just want to thank you. Gene and me, and we help support your ministry. We both have been over there. We've seen what it's like. I lived in a third world country for a year. We have it so good here that when you hear stories like you just shared, it says, step back, Doug, and take a look and be thankful for where we are. So, Fred, again, thank you so much, and I'll give you the last word.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you for the opportunity. I just want to make sure that people understand that this is a ministry that's called by God, and for instance, everyone in the board, everyone who goes to Haiti, everyone that works through Living Water, no one in the United States receives a penny. And everybody, if they go over, they pay their own way. So if they do donate any money to help us do the work that God's got us doing, we will use it very carefully, very frugally, and 100% of it will go to help the people. So thank you for allowing me to tell you what God's doing through this little life in this little place in Northwest Haiti.
Fantastic. Thank you so much again. And listeners, thank you for listening to the Liberated Investor Advantage podcast with Doug Alden. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, please click the subscribe now button below. This way, when Doug comes out with a new podcast, it'll show up directly on your listening device. This also makes it much easier to share these podcasts with your friends and family. And please share this one with your friends and family. Help them find that reset button to realize, you know what, the stuff we're going through here in the United States isn't even close to what people all around the world are facing. This isn't a guilt trip. This is just, hey, sometimes we just need that reminder. So share this podcast with them. Again, thanks for listening today. For everyone at the Liberated Investor Advantage, this is Eric Johnson reminding you to live your best day every day. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Liberated Investor Advantage podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available.